Hello, friends and beautiful people in Global Acceleration of Ascension. It is Support Sunday, and I felt the need to do a very quick impromptu live about something that is top of mind. And I've had more than a few people reach out to me this week on this same theme. So I really wanted to give you the opportunity to shift your mindset around what you're asking for in terms of maybe you want to change your life and you feel like you're becoming something different, something that feels more powerful, where you feel more in control of your life, where you feel you have more say-so over the things that are happening in your life, or at least how you're responding to things that are happening in your life. And this is such an important thing to talk about right now because we are shifting so much. Hi, Jante. We are accelerating and shifting through, sorting through a lot of different timelines in order to seek out our master timeline. We go through a process of sifting through all of the contrast to that which is in opposition of our master timeline first. It's like we energetically try on different things for size. We try on different ways of being, different ways of thinking, different ways of doing life, being life, and us in our life, in order to experience the contrast of our master timeline. And as we're sifting through all of this, you know, maybe we're in like a Goldilocks scenario. You know, it's like we're shifting into one timeline and we're tasting it, smelling it, feeling it, being it, doing it. And we're like, okay, too hot. And another timeline is too cold. And another timeline, too soft. Another timeline, too hard. And it's like, energetically, we're shifting through different mantles of vibration. And we're wearing it for a little while, and we're testing it out. We're trying on this bodysuit of who we are in this other timeline. And we're like, well, almost there. Almost getting it, not quite there. And we can get into this pattern then. And it's all just based off of who we've been before, where we kind of beat ourselves up for not finding the right thing right away. You know, we live in a culture, let's just be honest, that it's like a, you know, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Like everything is so fast, like in almost a kind of, you know, let's hurry up and live our life kind of way. But that's not where we're at all. We're actually being asked, even though we're in a lot of accelerated shifting and moving through a lot of different timelines, what we're actually being asked to do and being invited to do is slow down and savor where we are at the moment, to say, and to have enough presence with being able to say, this doesn't work for me. Or I like this, but let's tweak it a little bit and bring up the volume with it a little bit more. We're not giving ourselves enough time as we're sorting through all these timelines very quickly. We're not giving ourselves enough time and presence to really sit with how that feels in the now, and then being able to have the utmost discernment about this doesn't fit or this does. Is that making sense so far? That's how I'm feeling, Jante says. Awesome. So when we're in these moments of kind of sussing out these different timelines and who we are in these timelines and trying these on for size, we're kind of beating ourselves up a little bit like, that's not right. Why can't I get it right? If you're doing that at all, you need to pull back, take a breath, get present, and from a very keen place of presence and clarity and calm, just simply say, declare, not that. But then on the heels of that, of you recognizing this is not a fit, what would be? And you can only arrive at this place when you're in the presence of saying, this doesn't fit. Okay, what does? What is in contrast to that? Because the universe doesn't respond to, you know, I don't want that, and then come up with clever opportunities for you to say yes to. It's asking you, what is the vibration that you want to hold so that I can know what to send you? It's very much a reclamation right now of our own responsibility as master creators of our timeline. We get to decide what our master timeline really is. And as we're asking to become this more, purified, strong essence of who we really desire to be and what we really desire to have and do, and all of those things are kind of coalescing, they're coming together. The more and more we spend, a longer time in the vibration of what we want and what we're desiring, the more clarity the universe has about what to send us that is a vibrational match to it. So when you're in those savory moments of, oh, okay, I'm trying on this timeline and it feels good, spend some time there. Really think about it. How is this you in this timeline, what feels like a perfect fit? You're in this like human suit of like, oh, this feels good. Okay, how does it feel good in the relationship you're having? How does it feel good with your money? How does it feel good with your soul purpose? How does it feel good with a sense of motivation to like do more and take this vibration further? How do you expand it out? How do you grow it? Right? Spend some time in that feeling. This is so important right now because the universe is always and ever paying very close attention to what your strongest vibration is. And your strongest vibration is, where are you holding most of your energy most of the time? Is it something that's of a very low vibration or a very high vibration? So when you're in those moments of the uncomfortable timeline, get very present and say, okay, not this, great, but don't stop there. Don't stop with not this. Because even when you're saying not this, if you're putting your attention on not that or not this, the universe just sends you more of it because it's paying attention to where you're spending the most time with your vibration. Okay? So on the second, you're realizing and having the discernment of not this, great, but don't stop there. What's on the opposite side of that? If it's not this, then what's the opposite of it? What's the contrast? Go there. And whatever you have to do, close your eyes and just visualize for a second. Let the feeling come up from the heart and expand out around you. What would your life look like? And just, you can imagine like 3 key areas right away, like your relationship when you're in this vibration, your money when you're in this vibration, and your soul purpose when you're in this vibration. Like, what would it look like for this energy to expand out and inform those key areas of your life? What are you doing? Who are you? Who are the people that are around you? And it only can take like a couple seconds to actually anchor this, and then just be in it. Just be in it for as long as you can possibly hold that vibration. And do this as a practice throughout your day, often. Because the universe is asking us right now, which timeline do you want to anchor and keep? And if it is your master timeline, here's something else you want to look at. Your master timeline is you basically living, being, breathing, doing at the level of all of the desires that you have. Your master timeline is where everything you're asking to be, do, and have is already manifested. It's already there. And I know this is a stretch for your imagination, but I can tell you from my work with timelines, my extensive work with timelines, and then I have a whole course around it, and I talk about timelines all the time. I have videos on YouTube about timelines because I super geek out on this work and I know a lot about it. Okay? I made it my goal to have like an expert opinion on timelines and what it means and how it translates into different areas of your life. So my extensive work with timelines lets me know that there is a master timeline. It's there. All your desires that you have right now are proof positive that they are already made manifest in this master timeline. You wouldn't be given the awareness of these desires if they didn't already exist in a timeline that's already there. It just hasn't been fully anchored by you yet, and you haven't fully aligned with it yet. If you want to learn that, you need to get in my In Alignment program because that's what it's all about. But when we're in this, place where we're kind of vibrating with and we're kind of getting a taste or a flavor of our master timeline, meaning we get a feel for what it's like to be inhabiting, embodying our desires of what we wish to be, do, or have. What we can tend to do is then look at, because the ego is just habituated to this because we've been doing this our whole lives, we kind of run home to the ego a little bit, especially if These desires feel too big for us. In whatever story we've got, my family never had this, I never grew up with this, this is too big for me, I can't handle it, I've had something like this before and I fucked it up, or I'm unworthy of it because of all the bad things that I've done. Let me remind you of something. Energetically, vibrationally, frequency-wise, all the universe recognizes is who you are right now in this moment, where you're vibrating at. And if you're vibrating at all of these things I just mentioned and constantly tethering yourself to a past version of you where you feel lesser than, unworthy of, unlovable, unseen or unwitnessed by the universe, and therefore unloved by God or the universe, where you feel like your earlier life was a mistake, or, by virtue of feeling we've made so many mistakes before in our life that they're unforgivable, then the overarching view is that our earlier life was a mistake. This is you running home to the ego to kind of soothe yourself in a way out of not being able to have what you really want. This is one of the biggest mistakes that we can make vibrationally when we are asking to become, have, be, or do more. Because you're framing who you were before as a mistake. And if you're doing that, that is a present intention that you have. This is you in the present saying, everything I have been before, everything that brought me to where I am now was lesser than, it was a mistake, it was wrong. Nothing about who you were before, what you've done before, the mistakes you've made before, the wrong people you got with before, the wrong things you did in your life before, the mistakes you made before. Nothing about you is wrong, imperfect, a mistake. And it's only you that can let yourself off the hook from feeling any of that. The universe holds no judgment. To say that the universe is testing you or has judgment means that the universe has ego. Judgment only occurs as a result of ego, and judgment is one of the most damaging vibrations that you can be holding on to if you're asking to become, be, do, or have more. Judgment is one of the most damaging vibrations for you to inhabit. And when you are in that place of judging yourself, of who you were before, the mistakes you've made, the bad things you did that are unforgivable in some way, and they're only unforgivable by you, again, your responsibility to shift that and change that. That is the universe then recognizing that you are in judgment. And it'll drop you down so many pegs vibrationally and bump you down to the lower end of the emotional spectrum of vibration that it can be really hard to climb that ladder again. So what if you just decided to let yourself off the hook from any judgment of who you were before? Because every day when you wake up, it's a clean slate. It's an absolute clean slate. What you decide to think about, spend your time ruminating on, or put yourself in a lesser vibration of, is entirely 100% your decision and your responsibility to shift it. You going back to that past version of you all the time where the pain is still raw, the vulnerability is still raw, the mistake is still there, and you feeling the fallout of the mistake. It is only and ever you that's taking yourself on that journey. No matter what outside trigger you say made you do it, your response is your responsibility. Because it's all in the name. It's all in the word responsibility. Responsibility is the ability to respond. And we all have responsibility in that sense. The ability to respond. The energy with which you take that ability to respond is entirely 100% based on how well you master your emotional state. If you're in your master timeline, you're already mastering your emotional state. Maybe that can be one of your intentions for anchoring and embodying your master timeline, where you have mastery over your emotional state. You say what stays and goes in terms of your vibration and frequency. So anywhere you are framing your life as you've known it before, especially if you're looking at where you want to go and you're contrasting it with who you've been and who you are now, and what you're seeing as part of your present reality. The most powerful and pivotal shift that can take hold is you just radically self-accepting that who you've been before wasn't wrong. It wasn't a mistake. You weren't lesser than. You weren't incomplete. You were just working with the information that you had at the time. And because of the vibrational state that we have been inhabiting up until now in the old Earth timeline, we've had a lot of information withheld from us. And it's not entirely because there's something pulling the strings, some big puppeteer in the sky, but because of the vibration that we've been willing to occupy. And we need to take responsibility for that. If you are in the highest vibration master timeline of you, there is no level of manipulation, domination, or control that is outside of you from an external force that can change your internal state. I'm going to say that again. If you are in emotional mastery and you're living at the level of your master timeline, occupying the highest vibrational level available to you and constantly choosing that moment to moment, second to second, then there is no external force, trigger, outside mechanism that can dominate, manipulate, or control your energy. Because the light absorbs the dark. And in that level of our highest vibrational master timeline that we're occupying, that we keep choosing moment to moment, no matter what thoughts come in, no matter what feelings, memories, etc., you don't have to stay and marinate in that energy of, but I was so unlovable. I was making so many mistakes. I couldn't forgive myself. I couldn't forgive others. I couldn't stop thinking about this one thing that I did or this one thing that happened to me. You don't have to marinate in that, and you don't have to go into the feelings of I was wrong, or I was incomplete, or I couldn't ever have this, A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. Every day you wake up, you have a clean slate, and you are under no obligation today to be who you were yesterday, or the day before that, or the week before that, or the year before that, or the decade before that, or the lifetime before that. You know, some of us, as we're sussing out a lot of these timelines, there's a lot of, internal disclosure about who we've been in other timelines and other lifetimes. How we met our end, how we ultimately perished in a timeline, or, things we did then. And we think that we have to carry that into this timeline or work through it. You don't have to. And I know that that is contrary to a lot of the beliefs, but your awareness and your choice of where you vibrate now doesn't have to be based on anything you've been before. It doesn't. I don't care how many lifetimes that you were persecuted or had to have, a poverty level vibration. What matters and what it really means to be in your master timeline is to understand the agency that you possess to work on your highest and best behalf right now, and only and ever are you responsible for being the highest custodian of what you feel right now. You can decide in your master timeline, I've already decided this, no more karma. In terms of the cause and effect of having to respond to certain triggers, I don't have to do that anymore. No more karma in the sense of I don't have to keep dragging in my parallel lifetimes and timelines where I've had a discounted or diminished experience of life. I'm no longer obligated to drag any of that into my present and work with any of that into my present. I decide no more karma. I decide to fully negate any and all contracts that do not align with my highest and best timeline of self-mastery now. That is you in your master timeline. And anywhere you're discounting who you've been before, and you're in that vibration mentally, physically, emotionally, Understand this, you are dragging it into your present and you are creating a fuzzy broadcast and signal to the universe. In one moment, you're saying and you're speaking your power, but in another moment, you're backtracking, backpedaling into a lower vibrational energy because you're thinking about a memory. You're going into another lifetime where you were lesser than. You don't have to do that. There is nothing, in the universe that is some grand reward for, diligently picking through and working through all the times and all the ways of being that you were lesser than, or you perceive yourself as lesser than. There's no grand reward in heaven or on earth for being this person that spends a lifetime nitpicking all the things that are wrong with you and trying to suss every single one out. There is only and ever this: the declaration that I am that. I am a thread of all that which already is. I am attracted to all the things that I deem as the best and highest level of existence. More money, more love, more support, the full disclosure of my soul purpose and how to day-to-day live that out, how to live at a soul-led level of me and live that out in my daily human life every single day. All of that is available to you, but it is a vibrational choice. And when you keep going back to who you were before and lamenting or sitting and marinating in that energy of how wrong you were or how bad it all was, you keep dragging your past into the present. There is no past. There is only now. There are only reflections of the now in terms of what you're willing to emotionally tether yourself to that might have been representative of that memory or that way of being or that thing that happened. But you're only ever feeling that now. And here's an interesting that happens. And again, with my work with timelines and those who I've worked with in reconciling timelines, especially past or previous, they're all parallel timelines, by the way, timelines that feel like they keep tethering people to a lower vibration and way of being. When you start to have good vibration thoughts about your past and you reframe it in your mindset that, hey, I was just working with the information that I had at the time. I can fully and completely let myself off the hook for just not knowing any better. I didn't know there was a higher, best available choice at the time. I wasn't in a vibrational level to, be able to peek behind a veil and see that. When you start to reframe everything that has been, those mistakes you've made, those bad relationships you were in, those bad money choices you made, with this level of mindset, you change your past. And you change the vibration that you keep dragging into your present. And when you have this mindset of, hey, I just didn't know any better at the time. And I wouldn't be here now with all of these lessons learned, with this vibration that now I can hold. I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for all that stuff. And then you can actually shift into gratitude. You change your past. Do you see how that works? And that is a powerful place to be, because then it keeps echoing into the present. And then that present vibration that you're holding of you and your master timeline, you at the level of emotional mastery of your inner world, that just keeps expanding. It keeps growing. It keeps accelerating. It keeps filtering out and projecting into all the areas of your life, in all the people that you know, and all the experiences that you have, and all the events and situations and scenarios that you experience. Trust me, this is the case. So I hope that this helps. Ooh, it's 1:11 here. Perfect. Ending on a high vibration note. Please listen to this again and let it sink in, because maybe you were just listening at a conscious level of mind. Let this sink into your subconscious and let the super conscious perk up its ears and really tune in, because this is the part of you that already knows that what I'm saying is true. And it's like activating the superconscious part of you, the soul-led master timeline part of you, to start changing who's driving the bus, right? And this is something that I'm going to be talking a lot more about when I do my live coaching call in my In Alignment group program. this Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. I'm going to be talking about how to shift your mindset around, even when everything in your world seems to be crumbling and falling down, this collapse is due to the fact that we are moving into accelerated timelines where those old low vibration ways of being are not supported in this higher timeline that we're moving into. That's why they're falling away. So we need to reframe why it feels like everything in your world is falling apart and crumbling and collapsing, and how to get your mindset right so you can flow through this shift instead of being dragged down into the dregs of the lower end of the emotional spectrum over and over again. You don't have to keep going through this push and pull energetically. You can learn how to stabilize your energy. So if you're not in alignment program, this is an opportunity to get some live hot seat style coaching with me. One of my superpowers is being able to be very present with my clients when they ask me specific questions. And not only do I hear and respond to your question from the God self vantage point of view, your God self, not my God self, although I'm communicating from you at that level. But I can hear the vibration behind your words, and I can often know what you're really asking. Sometimes we ask a question that's really not at the root or the heart of what we really want to know. And one of my superpowers is being able to get to the nugget of that. And I love doing this live hot seat style on the spot. So that's going to be this Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time in our In Alignment Facebook group. So you can join this program for as little as $2.99. We are starting live on August 10th, but you have access to the first round of the 5-day intensive class that I taught, which is life-changing and powerful in its own right. So when you join, you have access to those replays right away. You have access to the saboteur assessment, so you can see where exactly you are holding yourself back from the improvements that you're trying to make you in your master timeline, where you are already actualized in what you want to be, do, and have. So get in here. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this gave you some support today so that you can, take this away and really allow yourself to sit with this information. How does this fit with how you're thinking about your life right now? So lots of love and peace. Bye-bye.